We open in welcome to the ancestral people of this land, acknowledging that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoic tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing and the realization of justice with the people of this land, who live on in their descendants, the present-day members of the Monacan Indian Nation, the Patawomic Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we move towards healing so that all, together, shall one day know full justice.
Sages, sharing what we can, sing out together, this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regret, but in the shadows let us not forget, we who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now through friendship, it's our heart's own song.
Welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Christina Watts, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm happy to be your worship associate today. If you aren't new to Accotink, look around. Do you see people that you haven't met or haven't spoken to in a while? Help us to live up to our mission to be a welcoming and inclusive spiritual home for all by reaching out and making a connection. By visiting this congregation, newcomers are in a transition moment, and people in transitions are more open to new friendships. This means that your new best friend might be here this morning, and this is your chance to meet them. Whether you're a longtime member or a newcomer or something in between, we encourage you to stay for our social hour, online and in person, immediately after the service. We're so delighted that you decided to join us today. Welcome.
Our chalice lighting today is a quote from James Baldwin. "I love America more than any other country in the world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually."
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Kate Heilig. My pronouns are she and her. I'm so happy to be here this morning. This month's theme is freedom. We also remember this weekend the 56th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, which occurred in New York in 1969 when police raided the Stonewall Inn, a well-known gay bar. This, of course, was a common occurrence at this time, but this time the community fought back for their freedom. Although it is unclear who threw the first brick, it was likely one of the trans women of color, or it might even have been Zazu Nova, a staunch Unitarian trans woman who was there that night. Now, the symbolism of this action has become a turning point for the LGBTQ+ movement. As writer Ben Boyd describes, they fought back that night to proclaim themselves worthy, to declare their rights were human rights, to proclaim that being lesbian, gay, or trans is not an illness or wrong, but simply who they were, who we are. That first brick was about shattering a narrative that had been forced on them. That brick laid the foundation for a new reality, and they began marching out of the closets and shadows that had contained them for too long. So we want to invite you to again think about the question to ponder. When was the last time you used your freedom to push progress? And also think about what exactly freedom means to you. Throughout the service, we hope that you think deeply about what inspires you to stand up for what's right. Is there a word or a phrase that calls you to exercise your rights to petition or to protest? Is there a value that calls you to act for justice? Is there an image that rises to your mind when you think of acts of resistance? We invite you to write or draw these on your brick. You'll see the index cards on your seats. These are your bricks. Those of you on Zoom, feel free to jot some down on your own so that you can share them later during the service. We have our own stone wall here, and later on in the service, we will invite you to add your bricks to the stone wall in the spirit of community. Thank you.
Singing for our lives, land of many colors. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives.
Good morning. I am Michelle Anderson. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am delighted to be your, what is my full title? Children and Youth Director of Spiritual Development. Mouthful. Today we're going to be reading the story Kind Like Marcia. It's learning from LGBTQ plus leaders, both current and past. And we're going to be reading it together. It's written by Sarah Prager. It's illustrated by Cheryl Rass Tuesday. And we're going to be reading the name, the date, where in the world they are from, a little bit of information about them, how you can be like them, and then a quote that they often spoke. Our first one.
Marcia P. Johnson, 1945 to 1992, United States.
You can be kind like Marcia. Marcia P. Johnson was an activist who took care of everyone in her community in New York City.
Pay it no mind.
Harvey Milk, 1930 to 1978, United States.
You can be inclusive like Harvey. Harvey Milk brought people together for the cause of equality by talking about respecting everyone, even if they were different.
Hope will never be silent.
Sappho, circa 610 to circa 570, Greece.
You can be expressive like Sappho. Sappho was a woman who wrote love poems about other women more than 2,000 years ago.
One day they'll remember us.
X. Gonzalez, born 1999, United States.
You can be outspoken like X. X Gonzalez is an activist who organizes millions of people and speaks out about making schools safer for everyone.
It's time to start doing something.
Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519, Italy.
You can be creative like Leonardo. Leonardo da Vinci invented so many cool creations. He made a robot, a scuba suit, and even a helicopter.
Learning never exhausts the mind.
Sylvia Rivera, 1951 to 2002, United States.
You can be determined like Sylvia. Sylvia Rivera was an activist who defended her community, even when people told her to stop.
We have to be visible.
Frank Mugisha, born 1979, Uganda.
You can be brave, like Frank. Frank Mugisha fights for equal rights for LGBTQ plus people in Uganda, where it is illegal to be LGBTQ plus.
We will not give up until we have the future we all deserve.
Audre Lorde, 1934 to 1992, United States.
You can be thoughtful, like Audre. Audre Lorde wrote about equal rights for women, Black people, and gay people. She turned her thoughts about justice into writing that made others change their minds.
We are powerful because we have survived.
I of Han, 27 to 1 BCE, China.
You can be loving, like I. Emperor I of Han ruled all of China, but he always made time for the man he loved the most, Dong Zhuan.
I know your faithfulness.
Frida Kahlo, 1907 to 1954, Mexico.
You can be artistic, like Frida. Frida Kahlo created beautiful paintings that often showed herself, sometimes with cute animals. She was proud of who she was.
I am happy to be alive as long as I can paint.
Lynn Conway, born 1938, United States.
You can be smart, like Lynn. Lynn Conway helped make the little computers that are used inside all of our electronic devices, like tablets and phones today.
It's the learning that's fun.
Alberto Santos Dumont, 1873 to 1932, Brazil and France.
You can be daring, like Alberto. Alberto Santos Dumont created some of the first ever airplanes and other flying machines. Even when the airships would crash with him inside, he'd keep trying again and again.
Still, I persevered.
Alan L. Hart, 1890 to 1962, United States.
You can be inventive, like Alan. Alan L. Hart helped save thousands of lives as a doctor who pioneered the use of X-ray technology to detect illness in patients earlier than ever before.
I have been happier since I made this change than I have ever in my life.
Josephine Baker, 1906 to 1975, United States and France.
You can be resilient, like Josephine. Josephine Baker created a successful life for herself, even though no one helped her. She became world famous and a beloved star who was also a spy, an activist, and a mom.
The things we truly love stay with us always, locked in our hearts as long as life remains.
All of these people are LGBTQ+, which means they have identities as diverse as the rainbow. You can be like all of them just by being you. Thank you.
All right. Hi, good morning. I'm Kate McTivitt, and I'm genderqueer, so I don't have preferred pronouns. I like my name to be used instead, even though it keeps flipping. Sorry. Our first reading is a poem by Timothy Arliss O'Brien in his collection, The Queer Revolt, Poetry for Revolution. It's entitled The Holy Queers. No matter what others may say, it is divine to be queer. The powers from above have made us this way, and we should share this grand news with the rest of the world. But we must still demand our rights to love who we choose and to be our authentic selves. Regardless of what others say, our lives are just as valuable as any other life. We were not made wrong, and we must cast off shame. We will not be silenced in the face of discrimination or hatred anymore, for we are holy and blessed. We are not asking for pity. We are not asking for acceptance. We are simply asking for equality and equity, for the right to live life to the fullest, to love who we love, and to be who we are unabridged. This is what we fight for, so please do not forget there is much to fight against to ensure equality for all regardless. It is not enough to simply say that we are all the same. We must stand up and be counted and make our voices heard. There are those who would have us go back into the closet once again, but we will not be silenced and we will not be denied. Our love is valid and our lives are just as precious. We demand our rights now and we must never give up. The fight for equality is not something we can hope to happen, but something we must take for ourselves. Our holy bodies are ours, and nothing will take that away from us. Queer rights are human rights, and queer liberation is the goal.
Singing on, and by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singing on, singing on. One more time. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singing on, and by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singing on, singing on.
As we explore a little of the treatment of LGBTQ plus people over recent decades, I will set the scenes for you.
And as we explore the active resistance that moved progress forward, I will share about pride, protests, and pickets here in our area. We also want to remind you to draw a right on your index card bricks. If you find yourself particularly inspired, there are extra cards available in the back. Fill or decorate as many as you want.
We begin in the Washington, D.C. area in the 1950s and 60s. A moral panic specifically targeting LGBTQ plus individuals in federal government positions is pervasive and known as the Lavender Scare. This prejudice-filled belief is that homosexuals are security risks due to the fact that they could be blackmailed under the threat of being outed. Thousands of civil servants are fired, and members of our military are given dishonorable or other than honorable discharges.
Unfairly firing skilled federal employees? Sounds familiar. In 1957, Dr. Franklin Kameny is fired from his job as an astronomer for the U.S. Army for suspected homosexuality. He becomes a gay rights activist and co-founds the first gay civil rights organization in our region, known as the Mattachine Society in Washington, D.C. In 1965, 4 whole years before Stonewall, Frank Kameny leads the first organized picket for gay rights in front of the White House with just 10 attendees. They hold signs like, 15 million US homosexuals protest federal treatment. Pickets for LGBTQ plus rights became a commonplace in DC and other cities, and participants include housewives, clergy, business executives, and laborers. Many who witnessed the pickets express confusion. A reporter captures overheard reactions such as, "I don't understand. How can homosexuals be learned or intelligent?"
So, just to be clear, people risk their reputations and safety to do what? Protest. The 1970s are a time of social upheaval and continued resistance against the war in Vietnam. In 1961, Frank Kameny is the first openly gay candidate to run for Congress. He finishes in 4th place. Frustrated by the sexism in the gay liberation movement and homophobia in the women's liberation movement, radical lesbian feminists separate themselves from both. Similarly, Blacks in DC feel left out of the gay liberation movement altogether. Threats to the solidarity of the movement come from both the inside and the outside, including singer Anita Bryant's anti-gay crusade, Save the Children, which portrays homosexuality as sinful. Groups fight to repeal the few gay rights ordinances that exist.
A celebrity using fame to push a personal agenda, claiming to protect minors, but hurting the LGBTQ plus community? That sounds familiar as well. Yeah. Despite upheaval and resistance, the gay rights movement grows in the 1970s. When the DC Council refuses to pass a Gay Pride Day resolution, Councilman Marion Barry becomes a great ally and defends gay rights. DC holds its first ever Gay Pride Festival, which includes drag shows, picnics, and a peaceful rally in Lafayette Square. In 1975, DC's first gay and lesbian bookstore, Lambda Rising, closes down an entire city block with the first Pride block party. It attracts 2,000 attendees, but grows to nearly 10,000 by the end of the decade. In 1979, the 10th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising is marked with a national march on Washington, with roughly 125,000 participants from all over the nation. At the very same moment, Howard University is hosting the first ever national conference of Third World Lesbians and Gays. A large group from this event chant and march with banners down Georgia Avenue to join the national march. This is the first DC Black Pride event and is also DC's first Pride Parade.
Even though they meet resistance, LGBTQ plus folks will not be silenced. They gather, they celebrate, they march. The 1980s began with tension and end with tragedy. With increased visibility comes increased backlash. In 1981, a gay bar in Capitol Hill is attacked a week before Pride. And we can't avoid mentioning the AIDS epidemic. Fear, discrimination, and a lack of understanding causes social isolation, marginalization, and violence against those affected. There is discussion of canceling 1986's Pride and directing the funds toward combating AIDS.
Misinformation and a struggle for the right to health care? I feel like I've heard something about that recently. As it turns out, nothing can stop Pride in the 80s. It expands to a larger location and to include more diversity with Black, Asian, and Latinx groups. Pride becomes a much-needed refuge of joy and togetherness. But it is also a time for social action. About 750,000 people attend the second National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights, and the AIDS Quilt Memorial, an ever-growing creation symbolizing collective grief and nationwide outrage. It debuts on the National Mall. The AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, known as ACT UP, leads the fight to demand justice from the Reagan administration.
Even though the community is grieving, they don't give up. They find fellowship and keep themselves in the fight. We have arrived at the 1990s. Anti-sodomy laws are finally repealed. Shows like Ellen and Will and Grace are on the air, but a few positive representations of queer characters on network television don't solve all the problems. HIV/AIDS continues to devastate the LGBTQ+ community, and homophobia still runs rampant in the nation. There's police violence one year at the annual DC Halloween high heel race. A young woman is killed on her way home from an Adams Morgan bar and nightclub popular with the LGBTQ Latino community. A transgender woman dies when DC's emergency responders intentionally delay her treatment. Presidential candidate Bill Clinton makes strong promises to the LGBTQ voters, few of which he keeps.
Homophobia, transphobia, and politicians making false promises?
Yeah.
You're sure you're not talking about now? Desperate for change in 1990, ACT UP members protest at the National Institutes of Health to demand it, and its director, Dr. Fauci, approve and release experimental AIDS medication, as well as include women and people of color in studies. Groups fight against government inaction and hold public candlelight vigils for lives lost. Cases against the police and emergency responders are won by the people. The 1993 March on Washington for lesbian, gay, and bi equal rights and liberation draws close to 1 million participants, including the first appearance of the now well-known Dykes on Bikes. During this decade, bisexual activities demand to be included. Drag and trans activists threaten to boycott Pride if they are not included. Organizers then include these groups. In great strides for visibility, Pride moves to Freedom Plaza and is renamed Capitol Pride. In 1993, Northern Virginia and Rockville, Maryland both held their first Pride Days. In 1997, DC hosts its first Youth Pride Day, followed by Silver Pride for LGBTQ seniors over 60. Pride is truly beginning to belong to everyone.
Yes, pride belongs to everyone, including corporations that start to realize increased visibility for LGBTQ+ folks could also mean an increase of profits for them. At the turn of the century, not everyone likes corporate involvement in pride. Obviously, this isn't the only problem facing the community. They are also in the crosshairs of America's culture wars, but that doesn't stop brave leaders from winning public office and fighting for more LGBTQ+ rights and equality. And remember Frank Kameny, who organized that 1965 picket in front of the White House? He's invited into Obama's White House and receives an apology 52 years after being fired.
Companies getting involved and making issues complicated? Who would have thought? Amidst the debate, rainbow capitalism makes it possible for Capitol Pride to book high-profile headliners and hold elaborate celebrations. The Millennium March, funded not by grassroots organizers and activists, but by national organizations with corporate support, struggles with finances and diversity, but draws hundreds of thousands of attendees. Unfortunately, it does little to move progress forward, culturally or politically.
So we learn that the power really does rest with the people. And with public pressure and passion, the decade of the 2010s is full of progress. And there's more LGBTQ+ representation in books, movies, and television. LGBTQ plus folks are in important government positions. Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed, as is the ban on transgender folks in the military. And the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Act is passed. A gay couple from Ohio who have been together for 20 years fly to Maryland in a medical jet so they can be legally married on the BWI tarmac before one passes away. Their names are John Arthur and Jim Obergefell. And yes, when their lawsuit reaches the Supreme Court, the result is federal marriage equality.
The Supreme Court making a progressive ruling? Now I know we're not in present day. But that wonderful moment does seem like only yesterday. And though the forward momentum is strong, there's still a long way to go until there's full equality for all. So the protests and marches continue. More transgender people and people of color get involved. 2017's Equality March for Unity and Pride emphasizes intersectional struggles like police violence, immigrant rights, and trans inclusion. Activists from No Justice, No Pride interrupt the parade to protest controversial commercial sponsors. This is also the year the presence of police at Pride is heavily debated, given their history with the LGBTQ plus community. Pride isn't always perfect, but just like the first Pride was a protest, it continues to push us forward. We even have a vice president walk with us one Capitol Pride parade, a powerful image that activists from the 1950s likely never could have imagined. And guess who walked in the Pride parade this year? We did.
To quote a great movie from the 80s, we're at now. LGBTQ plus individuals still face discrimination in many areas, and there is no comprehensive federal law prohibiting this. The administration, backed by the Supreme Court, declares there are only two genders. History is being erased. Books are being banned from classrooms and libraries. Transgender and non-binary individuals are being discharged from serving in the military. Bodily autonomy is being denied to women, transgender minors, and intersex minors. Anti-LGBTQ plus bills are on the rise in nearly every state. And just when people need it the most, LGBTQ plus services are being removed from the National Suicide Hotline.
Now is our time to act, to protest and picket, to protect the vulnerable, to push progress forward again. What did you learn from these examples from our history, from the brave individuals and groups who fought for rights and equality? How will you live your values? How will you act for justice?
Now, consider the bricks you have created during this service. Or quickly create them right now. These words and images are your inspiration and your tools. You can use them to protest, and you can use them to protect. In a moment, we will sing the freedom song from the 1950s, If I Had a Hammer. Written by a UU, we've modified the lyrics slightly with more inclusive language, so follow the slides. Along with the words, you will see images of some of the local protests and parades we talked about here today.
As we sing, we invite you to put your bricks here on the wall or in the chat if you're on Zoom. You might imagine you're using these bricks to destroy these negative ideas harming the LGBTQ plus community. Or you might imagine you're using the bricks to build a wall of protection between these actions and those they seek to harm. We can use the tools and skills we have in different ways, and we are called to use them all in the service of love.
Sing out of danger, I sing out of warning, I sing out of I got a hammer, and I got a bell, and I've got a song all over this land. I'd have for justice, it's the bell of freedom. It's a song about love between my siblings and my neighbors all over this land.
Now another reading from The Queer Revolt, and this is titled The Queer Revolt. We need a revolution within every inch of our society. Despite significant progress over the past several decades, members of our community continue to face discrimination and exclusion in many areas of life. It's true that there's more representation in media, and we are so much more connected due to social media. But the fight for equality is far from over. The recent advances give us hope that someday all members of the LGBTQ community will be treated equally and fairly under the law. Don't fret and don't fear. The heavens above have blessed us. Surely it's true. Look around at the joy in our community and the fight our ancestors have taken up time and time again. From the fear of coming out and the fear of violence that we face daily, to the self-destructive tendencies and substance abuse running rampant in us, the odds are stacked against us. Though we have lost many to their own hands or the violence of others, or even the terrifying HIV/AIDS epidemic, our community continues to exist. Pick yourself up. Be proud of who you are and choose to love every part of yourself. We were made for now, and history is counting on us to fight for the future, for ourselves, but also for the future of all queer people. So fight bravely, my rainbow. With love, we may overcome, leading us to forward progress that can only come from a queer revolt. Thank you. As we extinguish our chalice with these words, this is a chant by the fire-eating lesbian Avengers at the world's first Dyke March in DC in October 1993. The fire will not consume us. We will take it and make it our own.
All right, so please rise now, embody your spirit, and join us in our closing words of David Bumbaugh, slightly adapted. This church is dedicated to the proposition that by celebrating our differences and embracing our diversity, we honor the unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity. Now that we've gathered together in this welcoming and inclusive spiritual home, let us go out into the world inspired to share our values and protest.